it going, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of your favorite podcast, Scales and Tails, your favorite swimbait podcast, episode 181 today, and we're joined by a very, very special guest. If you guys are into the country music, I guess, scene, you may be familiar with this guy, or you guys follow him on Instagram, and it's funny because there's a couple like well-known singers and stuff who kind of like singers and comedians that like dabble in the fishing like swimbait world, and it's funny when you realize that it's like, oh man, like I would have never guessed this guy I've listened to for some guys have been listening to dudes for like 20 years and like have no idea that this guy's into swim bait fishing or whatever else it may be. We're joined by Mr. Chase Bryant, who I said you guys might be familiar with if you're into country music and stuff. And obviously, I'm sure if you guys want to hear about his whole music scene, we'll talk a little bit about it. That's a part of his story, I'm sure. But there's probably other platforms if you guys can listen to this. It's obviously very fishing related, very swimbait related, as always. We were talking before, and he's like, "Oh, this is kind of nice, instead of doing a conversation piece about singing, it's about us fishing." So I guess Chase,
Yeah.
introduce yourself for the people who aren't familiar, and then as always, we'll go crazy in depth with your story and hear everything that makes you you, dude.
Yeah, man. Well, my name is Chase Bryant. I'm originally from South Texas, a little town called Orange Grove, Texas, which was right off the Gulf Coast of Mexico. I grew up there until I was, God, 15, 16. I got my first record deal in Los Angeles, moved to LA, and I've been doing, the music thing my entire life. But on the side, well, we were talking before, it's like, my entire life's really like I love music. I mean, that's my bread and butter. That's what I know how to do. At least I'd like to think so, or I've convinced enough people to know that I can. And but fishing number one. I mean, chasing bass and like we were talking, large speckled trout, and then just whitetail deer hunting has always been a big part of my life, and conservation and management has been a big deal. I mean, I often say if I would have never played music, I probably would have gone to school to, in fact, had the opportunity to go to school for wildlife biology, and to run a ranch was kind of my goal in life. But things obviously altered, and I got to play music, and very fortunate for that. And I love your podcast. I love this whole community. It's been a really cool thing to kind of start diving into a little bit, and yeah, I'm glad to be here doing this today and talking about something other than music. Yeah.
Heck yeah, man. And like we said, it's a part of your story, so obviously you'll reference it here and there, but it's what
Yeah.
you do for a living. It's what you've been doing since you're 16. So it's kind of like it's really a part of you and kind of what makes you you, as well as alongside of the outdoor stuff and kind of what we were talking about before, the whitetail and trout and bass fishing scene. So I guess when you were growing up in Texas, we kind of talked that were you guys like, so it's always funny when guys are like outdoor families, because I have family members who are huge in the outdoors, and they, 95% of the time they're worried about whitetail, food plots and management and all that sort of stuff. And then the other part of my family, they're all outdoors, like they'll buy their hunting license and stuff, shoot a deer here and there, but they're really big into the trout fishing is what my family's big into. So like for you, did you come from like a predominantly like hunting background, or was it more so fishing?
Well, my dad's side of the family was huge in hunting. I mean, my dad's youngest brother. I mean, he was one of my just. I mean, he's like my best friend. He's probably one of the most successful whitetail deer hunters in the state of Texas. I mean, he's killed harvested some incredible deer. So I grew up hunting really early and got addicted to what makes deer, what makes these whitetails as big as they are, what soil content
Mhm.
and farming and agriculture. Like I love that. But I started fishing when I was really, really young, and man, I was so hooked. And I can remember, we were talking. I grew up on this lake called Lake Corpus Christi, and my dad used to take me out there all the time. He'd take me out, and my dad wasn't a fisherman. He just didn't fish.
Mhm.
My dad's a hunter. He would take me out there, and I can remember being like, God damn, there's not a single damn fish in this lake. We never catch shit in here, and so I started like anybody, catching bluegill and catching stuff like that. And then a cousin of mine, Hudson Moon, who's probably the most incredible fisherman I've ever met in my life, his dad started me on bass fishing as a kid. And man, I've been hooked with bass ever since. I mean, I love trout fishing. I love whitetail deer hunt. Don't get me wrong, but chasing chasing these green animals has been the core of my existence. Now, I since I've been here in South Carolina, I've been just chasing them, relentlessly,
Mhm.
and with a swim bait, so.
Man, that's awesome. So obviously, when you did sign your deal and stuff, your life kind of, changed a little bit moving out to the big city and stuff away from Texas. Did you I guess since I don't have like Nick from Cast and Crank, he's big in the swim bait or he's big in the music scene, so he kind of has an idea how all this stuff works. But when you signed that deal, like were you able to like fish out there and kind of like partake in the outdoor activities that Cali offered, or was it more so like in the studio doing a lot of music promotional stuff? What was that like for you?
Yeah, I mean, my first year with my first real record deal in Nashville when I was signed to Broken Bow, like when I first started having
Mhm.
hit songs on the radio, um, I think I did like 300 and some days on the road. I was home like 40 days that year, and that being like I'd go home and wash laundry and then get ready to rock and roll, go play another show again. Funny enough,
Wow,
the first tour I was ever really on when I got to Nashville was with Aaron Lewis.
that's crazy.
Aaron and I were on tour with Brantley, and Aaron at the time it was like during a lot of during hunting season,
Hmm.
and I'll tell this story. Maybe he wouldn't want me to say this, but I'm going to say it anyways. He was the first guy and only guy I've ever known to get a private jet stuck in the mud. So we were playing in Tulsa, Oklahoma, the second night of the tour, dude, and we're only supposed to be playing like 25 minutes, and I'm kind of the pretty boy on that tour, right? Like you look at those pictures, it's like baby gap jeans and leather jackets, tucked in boots and the whole deal. And these are guys that are Aaron's having a cigarette on
Yeah,
stage. I'm trying to hide. I even smoke cigarettes, because it's like I'm scared that somebody's gonna, call me out, or I don't know, I was just a young kid. And so I get a call from Brantley's manager, and he says, "Hey, you have to play 60 minutes tonight." Well, we didn't even have 60 minutes of music. I just had a 5-song EP.
mm,
And I'm like, "For what?" And they're like, "Well, Aaron Lewis got his plane stuck in the mud on a hunting trip." And so, it's just crazy. Like all these years later, like watching Jared, and
yeah,
I've gotten to know Jared just a touch. Like I'll touch base like on that later on in this, but I've seen him fishing with Aaron. I'm like, I didn't know Aaron was into swim baits. Like,
yeah.
I didn't even know he was really fishing. I knew he was into hunting, but that just goes to tell you, it's like, man, when you're out there, I think people think it's like we're all best friends and yada yada, and it's like we're really not. I mean, Aaron and I were tight. I would say,
Yeah.
we were good buds, and he really taught me a lot. But there was just never really like a time that I could just get away and go fish,
Mhm.
as I had radio promo on the bus all day long, and then I, get ready to play a show, and so it was never really had the time then. But
Yeah, dude, that's so brutal. Last question I have for you based like on the music side of things, dude, like there's weeks where I'll record like 3 or 4 episodes in a row like throughout the week and go to work and obviously talk and all that sort of stuff. Dude, my voice
yeah.
gets shots, not necessarily so fast, but definitely start feeling it after like hour 6 of like conversating, especially like at shows or whatever else it may be. Like how what's the trick to soothe the vocal cords when you're not talking and you have to go out and perform 60 minutes the next night after you just did it for the last 3 days? What's the secret remedy for you?
Well, I'll tell you, I'm lucky to have a voice anymore because I was on tour. I don't remember what year it was. I was out with this guy, Kip Moore. So it's like 2015, 2016. I'm on stage one night. I get off the bus. My voice is shot. I go do a show, and we had the rock doc come in, and they give you this shot, and then basically like this shot right in your ass cheek of like
Oh,
adrenaline, basically
uh-huh.
is what it is, right? It's just like high doses of B12.
Yeah.
And once you do that, I think people think it's like you're ready to go, but it's like what they don't understand is you're singing on adrenaline, and you're
Mm,
not really singing, you're just screaming. And it's
yeah.
like when you get done, you're just shot. So I would go try to do shows. And I remember this is the worst feeling in the world. I'm playing like a sold out room up in, God, it's the Rave. It's in Wisconsin, Madison, Wisconsin. It's wherever Jeffrey Dahmer,
Oh,
um,
Milwaukee. Was it Milwaukee?
Milwaukee. There
Yeah.
is it? Yeah, I think it is. Anyway, so we're playing up there, and dude, I got on stage and I couldn't. I just couldn't get anything out. And so long story short, and I was like smoking like a chimney, and drinking and doing the whole deal. And they flew me home. I went and saw a vocal doctor, and she said, "You need to take 2 weeks off, like don't speak." And I was like, okay. Well, I took like a week off, and then I went and hit the next run of shows, and we're playing in Des Moines, Iowa. And I get up on stage, and bro, I hit my first note, and it felt like somebody just shot me in the throat with a shotgun. Like it was like the worst feeling in the world. I was spitting blood all over the place. So for like 6 weeks, I literally just had a pin attached to my shirt that said, I cannot talk.
Yeah.
So like couldn't talk at all. So really, it was like just time. And I feel like nowadays being, older, doing this forever, it's like only real way to save your voice is just like don't be a loudmouth all day long, and talk all day and yada yada yada. It's like go do your work, and then when that's done, just shut it off. Like talk quieter, talk in a lower tone. It's like there's all kind of weird stuff. Some people say Lay's potato chips are the greatest thing for your voice, pineapple juice, whatever. But like I don't buy all that shit. I
Yeah.
just don't, just kind of go to my bunk and go to sleep.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. The one and only concert I was ever gonna go to was last year. It was Charlie Crockett came to our town, and he ended up canceling because his voice was shot too. And I know my voice gets shot after kind of minimal, what a lot of people consider like minimal conversation and stuff. So I just had to pick your brain about that. I figured you had
Oh
had a
no,
story
dude.
or two about it.
Yeah, I feel you. And not to ramble. I mean, like I just know, like I don't think people understand like the amount of pain that can actually cause a person. Like mine was, I'd blown like the scopic shot of my throat was just I had blown every blood vessel
Wow.
that I had around
Yeah.
my vocal cords, and so my mouth was just full of blood. Like I was just, and this doctor's like, if you don't stop talking, like you cannot say a word for 6 weeks. Like you have to completely stop. And so I had to get off that tour and then, just wait. And thank God it came back. And I've just kind of, whatever since it's held up, thankfully. So we'll
Dang,
see what
dude.
happens.
That's insane, man. That's absolutely crazy. But so when you so you sign your deal and stuff and you're touring, was there or when was there ever like a pause for you to kind of get back into fishing? Because I assume, dude, I sit at my freaking 6 to 4 and I think like, oh, dude, I could be fishing right now. So for you to be going through that and like probably driving and flying through all these towns and cities and in states even where you're like, oh my gosh, we're right next to Lake Fork or we're right next to whatever river in upstate New York or whatever else it may be. Like when did you finally get to break away from the music for a little while and like get to be you and get to fish or hunt or whatever else it may have been?
Really, I mean, when I first moved to town as a songwriter, because I'm a staff songwriter and producer and all these other things, playing on sessions, doing whatever. And early on, I would fish tournaments to kind of like
Mm,
hopefully get a little money put away or whatever,
yeah,
like help buddies like team fish, or I'd go like just help buddies practice and stuff. But nowadays, I've got a lot more time because I make time for that. Like I don't really tour in December because that's kind of my hunting season. And then like right now is like our spawns getting ready to, kick on. We're in a weird weather phase right now, so bass kind of moved off. But I mean, nowadays, like thank God for the new travel rods
hmm,
around, like when
yeah,
I was doing that, you didn't really have those. And so like I never even really had space to be able to go out and do that. And so now my goal is like when I go out, if I've got some time during the day and I can go, throw a swim bait around for a little while, I'm gonna go do it. You know what I mean? And it's just kind of like now I can kind of look at my schedule and say, okay, like on this day, I'm going to be by Castaic, or I'm going to be by this, or I'm going to be by Lake Fork, or whatever it may be. Like, I got to get out there and try to make something happen. So I'm going to
yeah,
block some time in my day to go do that.
right.
So we'll see. Hopefully that holds up.
Heck yeah, dude. So kind of getting into like the meat and potatoes of it. So when you like, what was your first experience with the swim bait stuff? Like, obviously you were into bass fishing and like the tournament scene a little bit here and there, growing up in Texas and stuff. When did you first? What was like your first time seeing a swim bait, whether it was via social media or guy on a lake or whatever else it may be?
I had never seen one I mean, no one I knew had ever fished them. I mean, the Alabama rig was like the closest thing I knew to a swim bait, right? Like soft swim baits. And so I'm trying to figure this out. Like, really, I was a jig guy. Like, Denny Brower was my hero growing up. Like, I would sit in my driveway and set cups up and
Yeah.
flip to cups, and like, but then I'd make it harder, flip to a cup and don't flip the cup.
Mm.
Like, hit the cup, but don't
Yeah.
tip the cup, like what, like, dock entrance and
Hmm.
stuff, like practicing that. So a couple of years back, I go over to Japan. We're doing like some USO type stuff,
Yeah. Yep.
playing like uh, a Marine base. And this guy comes up and tells my wife and I, he goes, "Hey, you and the band want to go to this store. It's like this 3-story shopping mall." I was just telling Anthony about this place when he was over there from
Yeah.
Tackle Shack. I was telling him, like, you got to go find this place. It's a hidden gem. It's like this 3-story shopping mall, and they were all over the place. And so there was like 3 or 4 different locations, and we hit every single one of them. And we were looking for like old denim, like old Levi's and
Yeah.
old musical instruments and stuff. And I went to the fishing section for like a hot minute, and I saw a tiny clash.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, what in the world is that? And I saw this lip, and it kind of looked like it might be able to come out. Well, dude, I go on YouTube and I type in the name of it and just kind of like knew, like, okay, this is going to pop back up in my search. Like, it's there. I can go find it when I get to my room. Jeffrey the King popped up, and it was like, God damn it.
Yeah.
Like, now I got to watch all these videos. And then, of course, like Phoenix comes in, and
Yep.
I'd already known about like Butch Brown,
Hmm.
but I didn't really understand. Like, I just knew Depths 250. Like, I knew about Butch. I'd heard about Butch. Obviously, really big respect for him. But I just kind of thought, I didn't know like swim bait. I just
Yeah.
thought like this lunatic's making these giant baits. And to me, it was a perfect theory because the thing that I didn't understand was like, and I've got to be around Kevin Van Dam a lot from playing Bassmaster Classics back in the day, and like, all these events, and like, I wouldn't say we're friends, but like we text, or I text him
Yeah.
every now and again and whatever. The thing I didn't understand about this was like, as a guy that predominantly started just by catching bluegill, is like, dude, what do people think, that bass just get this big from eating schools of minnows?
And
Like,
worms and
they
stuff.
don't. Like, yeah, dude, it's like Tennessee, I have seen a ton of salamanders. So like a Zoom lizard makes sense. I
Mhm.
understand that. But a big fish to me is just like a big whitetail. Like, a big whitetail is not going to walk out for a kernel of corn
Yeah.
if it feels like, oh, I'm going to get shot if I
Mhm.
go out there. So I need to put something out that is going to attract this, which is going to be like a doe or something it
Yeah.
doesn't like. And so when I saw the tiny clash, I was like, this makes sense. And so I just bought one. I
Mhm.
found a dude, and I paid so much money for this thing. Like, I couldn't even, like, it's so stupid. Like, I didn't know anything about Swimbait Underground or
Mhm.
Universe, or I knew nothing. I just knew that I had to find this tiny clash. And so I bought one. And ever since then, like, this is a couple years back now, like, I haven't stopped, dude. I'm on it. Like,
Yeah.
that's all my wife's like, what are you doing? Watch the swim bait videos? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm obsessed with it, and I understand it. Like, it makes a lot of sense to me, just because I was never hunting just for hunting to kill. Like, I
Mhm.
was trophy hunting.
Yeah.
Now, I wanted to feed like a family too. So
Mhm.
there's a part of that, like sometimes it's just like the same thing of like, God, I wish I just got a bite today.
Yeah. Yep.
That's when you're, that's when you're filling your freezer, right? Like
Mhm.
with a whitetail. But then the other days of that year, you're like really pounding out. So yeah, man. I mean, it was Jeff, it was Marshall, obviously. That was another one that I always just thought, like, this guy's such a lunatic. Like, I'm not, I ain't getting on a paddleboard. You can kiss my ass. I'm not doing that. Uh, but Jeff, Phoenix, I mean, Jared, and then the working class thing came in. And
Yeah.
as soon as I saw working class, like Mike Gilbert, to me, I just thought he was such a genius. And I
Mhm.
thought that we shared a lot of similar ideas about trophy hunting,
Yeah. Yeah, dude, that's sick. I mean, like I I don't know. It's kind of It's crazy because when I got into it, like Jeff was obviously doing it and Marshall wasn't really doing it to the extent he was. So like there was stuff out there, but it's not like it is today or like around COVID. Like there's so much stuff out there now. Like when I got into it, it was a lot of like Butch Brown and some, DRT stuff. A little bit DRT was like just kind of starting to pick up. But like you said, now, dude, there's just so much. Like you can just stay on YouTube for hours watching swim bait stuff. And obviously, it might not be all like super crazy high resolution footage, but dude, you could watch hours of cast to catches and bait breakdowns. Like it's evolved so much and it's so
Yeah.
crazy to see.
Well, well, the thing to me is like that's also part of the problem too, right? Is
Yeah.
because like now everybody makes a swim bait. So some like out here where I'm at, a lot of people throw whatever. I'll just say it like I hate this bait, but they throw the Nessie, and I'm
Oh,
just
yeah.
like, there's so much more to life
Hmm.
than this thing that only one of them out of 20 of them work. And I've bought those baits. Like
Yeah.
I bought a lot of these baits until like I looked at the bait that it was copying and I was like, well, hold on a second. Who was first here? Because
Yeah.
whoever was first to this, it's like songwriting. If I write a song and I put it out, I don't like people get sued for copying
Yeah.
that. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like that. And so it's just like I just don't agree with it in the fishing world. So I've just kind of my feet are completely wet. Like my whole body is submerged in this
Yeah.
whole swim bait thing,
Hmm.
and I don't own a conventional rod anymore. I don't own a conventional bait. I don't own a worm hook. I mean, I don't have a BFS set up like I have swim bait setups, and
Hmm.
that's all I throw anymore at all.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, it's crazy. It's wild that you got first like really exposed to it in Japan and it wasn't even something that you were like going out of your way to look for. That's what's kind of even crazier. You just so
Yeah.
happen to stumble upon sounds like a resale shop style gig and then you go to the fishing section. And of course, today like every shop probably would have a DRT bait, but back then going in there and seeing a DRT on the wall, like, dude, that's like it was meant to be like some crazy higher being or whatever it may be, the void, like just like led you to that. It's kind of crazy to hear.
Yeah, and I was definitely like, I'll just say it because I mean, I know obviously know like one of the first people I hit up was Kyle at Throwback. I was
Yeah.
just like, man, I just kind of want to try something. Like, I'm just getting my feet wet in this. Like,
Mm.
and I was kind of the annoying guy, which I would not, ask anybody to do that ever to anybody. Like, don't ask people like stupid questions. Because if somebody asked me a question about pitching a jig, I would just be like, come on,
Yeah, yeah.
and but like I talked to Kyle and I got to talk to Jared like one time and I've texted him a couple times all over this fish that I can tell you about later. But um and they really, like just that thing. I just kind of started breaking into it, trying things and trial and error and what works for me and what doesn't. And I went from being a collector of swim baits to like I've got this stupid, dumb theory um that you would laugh at and you would just be like, you're the most boring person I've ever met in my life. But I've just got these things I want to try and these things I kind of want to accomplish, So that's sort of where I'm at now in that journey.
Yeah, the thing that I have the most trouble with is I have a lot of baits, way too many baits. But the saying you can only fish one at a time. Like I know guys who have five, six, seven different bow setups, compound bows, and unfortunately you can only shoot one at a time.
Yeah.
But it's like a golf club. Like you have a golf club for every situation. But the problem is that it's hard like with a jerk bait and a jig. Like those obviously have their own times, but sometimes I should be fishing a crank down when I want to fish a glide bait or whatever else it may be. And it's just like so hard to set it down because they kind of are the same thing, like can cover the same water column. And I really want to get bit on the glide because fishing a crank down's boring. Like, dude, it's like a never ending battle, I think. Not only like from like a buying and selling trade point, like what should I keep, what should I hold on to, but what should I spend my 4 hours on the lake today fishing because I can only fish one thing at a time. So how the hell am I going to divvy up the time or decide what I want to fish? Like obviously some days it's super cut and dry. You take one rod and you got perfect conditions for a wake bait. It's super cloudy or whatever else it may be. But dude, sometimes it's like, dude, like what bait do I want to have tied on? That's like the hardest thing for me, I think.
Yeah, well, and I just went through this like I'm a very minimalist kind of guy. Like I mean I say my wife's going to come out of our bedroom and be like no he's not. But I am to the sense of like musical gear like I have the same couple guitars. I don't really
Yep.
collect guitars. I'm not a collector. And the thing is I had this clean out where I just like cleaned out everything I had and I got rid of all of it and started over with like what do I know I have confidence in? What do I know I can probably build some confidence in? And dude, like right now, I've got one rod, one reel for a majority of my setup, and then I have another rod and another reel for like my really big stuff.
Yeah.
And so like yeah, like I agree with you. It's all about because you know how many times you take 10 baits and you fish one
Yeah.
and you do that like repetitive. And
Yep.
it's like, do I really need this thing that's at the bottom of my totem pole that I
Yeah.
might not try? But there's a lot of stuff out there that really fuels me and I'm really interested in. Like, like Bass Jack is one of them. Like
Yeah.
that thing really, really keys in. I mean, my lakes out here predominantly, I don't have a shad in any of my lakes or herring in any of my lakes. They're just bluegill, red ear, shell cracker, crawfish, stuff like that. So like UFOs were like the first one where I was like,
Yeah.
oh shit, this is cool. Like these are really cool. So I hear what you're saying. Like I try to minimize the things that
Yeah.
I throw to things that I have real confidence in.
Hmm. And that's the well-being of not wanting to put yourself on a paddleboard. But that's the nice thing about the paddleboard. Like Marshall and I talk a gajillion times of how minimalistic you not necessarily have to be, but you can be on the board. You bring one rod, like dude, I bring two rods on the board and I feel cluttered because I have a rod sticking up right here and a GoPro mount sticking up right here. It's like, oh my gosh, there's so much stuff going on. And then you kind of, only having one or two rods that really limits the baits you can take out there, but you're still, sometimes I catch myself bringing out 12 7-inch glide baits, and it's like, why the hell am I doing that? Like, that's taking up space in my crate that I could be bringing a bunch of, or a couple softies or a couple wake baits or whatever else it may be. So, like, that's the goal for this year is to really hone down to what I want to fish and kind of like just stick with it. Like, yeah, it sucks going out to the lake and being out there for 40 minutes and be like, oh my gosh, dude, if I would have brought a wake bait, I probably would have crushed them. They're surfacing the whole time. They don't want to eat a glide bait 7 foot down, but it's like, well, that sucks. Next time I'll try to be a little bit more smarter how I play this. I don't know. It's just like a weakness is definitely overpacking for me and for a
Well,
lot of other people, I feel like.
yeah, well, I'm not far off. Like when you talk about the paddleboard thing, like I'm a kayak guy, so I fish from a
Yeah.
kayak. I don't fish from a boat anymore. I did, but I have a theory as to why I don't fish them out of them much anymore. Like just in my bodies of water.
Yeah.
Let me just say this. I guess let me just get this out of the way with because it's like eating me alive. But like I caught this fish, and you can believe this or not believe it. But the first person I thought to call one when I caught this fish was Kevin Van Dam. Was like the first guy I thought, God, if he
Yeah.
just pick up the phone, I got a question. But there's a lake out here. I was telling you earlier. There's a basically, we're right outside of Charleston in a nutshell. Like we're basically in Charleston,
Mhm.
and there is a there's a lake out here. Some friends of mine lease this big property and have for a long time, and it's got several bodies of water on it that are like I said, pretty large bodies of water. They're
Yeah.
not small. They don't fish like a pond. You're not going to go catch a fish on a crankbait. Like these fish are incredibly. Like it took us 3 months just to figure out what they would eat.
Mm.
Like it was, it was like tough. And so there was a fish out there that I had seen like, and I knew this from trout fishing. Like if you're speckled trout fishing, you're not going to just walk up on one and catch one.
Yeah.
Like if you're sight fishing, I was treating it like sight fishing, and the sun was always at my back, and I'd have this big shadow laying over, and I'm going, if I make this cast, I'm going to blow it. And I just knew that I had never really seen a fish this size, and she was always in the same body of water, like same little area, and it's kind of like these lakes are pretty shallow. Like they're only really like some of them might get down to 10 foot, but most of them are like 8 foot deep. And there might be some channels that run through or something that may get down 12, 14 foot, but very rarely. So we're fishing one morning and I'm seeing this fish on a boat. And dude, when I would cut the trolling motor and I would like cut it on to like move, she's like, see you later, gone.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm going to go back to my kayak. And 3 times in a row, I'd seen this fish in this little pool, I call it. And there's an old magnolia tree and it hangs out on the water. And right below this magnolia, there's a cut in this water and then we're talking like drop offs, like this much of a drop off, right? Like there's a flat and then it just drops off. And I could always see her body in there on a sunny day. So I go out one morning on my kayak, sun's perfect. I'm like, I'm going to make this cast. And I remember being like, God, please let this happen. I throw a queen TK in there, and in glide mode, I was throwing like, at the time I was throwing 15-pound big game. I loved big game at the time. Like I liked my TK sitting way up.
Yeah.
And I make like, you know, glide, pause, glide, glide, glide. And then on that pause, that fish came up and just hammered it. And I saw her mouth come up and I'm like, oh, this is a pretty good fish. It's probably an 8-pounder, you know, which we had caught in there. And I get this fish to the boat and it's head shaking like hell. I'm like, oh my God, how big is this fish? Long story short, I net this fish. Dude, like never in my life have I been one to take pictures of fish, weigh fish. Like we used to weigh them. Like if we caught a 10 or something, we had the Rapala scales and stuff. We'd weigh them like, oh, here's a 10-pounder. But like pictures weren't a thing. Like where I grew up, it was like holding deer heads. You know, it was never about like, I didn't know that people actually did that, you know, other than in tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
So I get this fish and I had boga grips. I had my saltwater Sims bag and I had some boga grips on it. I put the boga grips in her mouth and I lift this fish up and my boga grips are saying 13 and a half pounds.
Dude.
And I'm like, oh my God. Well, there was a joke about this fish and I called it Nadine because of there was a very distinct look of this fish, like right on the skull of her head. She had this giant black just circle, like right on her head. And I this fish had it. And I'm going, oh my God, that's her. And I got Nadine from God, what was the guy that was fishing on Falcon that time? And he's laying down on his boat. It's a huge Bassmaster guy. He's like laying down on his boat, rod all the way in the water because his deep crank won't get deep enough. And he's like, come on, Nadine. Come on, Nadine.
I know what you're talking
Dude,
about.
you know what I'm talking about? He's like, I know Nadine's in here. Oh, you're Nadine's sister, you know? So anyways, I catch this fish. I call my buddies. I'm like, guys, I caught Nadine. Holy shit, look at this. And my buddy's looking at it. He's like, how heavy is that? And I put it up to the phone. It's like 13.5. Holy shit, you know? And he's like, you got to take a picture with this fish. And I've got my phone. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to paddle. I'm just going to like, I've got a pedal drive kayak. I'm just going to pedal up here. And I'm going to take a picture of this fish. Well, I take the boga grips out of the mouth and I stick my right hand in her mouth. And I'm like, I got to get some water in this fish. I stick her down in the water. And this fish does the inevitable, like,
kicks off,
donkey roll.
Yeah.
Gone. I was so scared to even like tell anybody, like I caught this fish, you know, because state record here is 16 and a half pounds or 16.25. And so I immediately get on and I'm thinking like, who might respond to me? Like who might tell me how I could go back and attack this fish? Cause I've got a thought, but I just want to make sure I'm right. Well, Jared hits me back up and I called Jared and I'm like, dude, and he's like, it's happened to me before. I hear you. Like, I believe you. I understand. And he said, did you take a measurement of this fish? And I said, no, but I remember exactly where her bottom or her top lip was touching. And I remember what her tail did. And my kayak doesn't move because it's all screwed down. So like my seat doesn't move, whatever. And I swear on my entire existence, and a lot of people won't believe this, I know that, but I get this kayak home that evening and I take out a ruler or a tape measure and I tape, and it was at the front of where my foot touches the wall that my foot touches when I'm not pedaling. That's where the lip was. And her tail came back and kicked up at the seat, at the lip of the seat. So I'm thinking, okay, if I can just get to the seat, I kind of know what she was. I already know her weight. And she was dead skinny, like real skinny. This is in the middle of July. And I go up there, I measure this, and to the seat was 30 inches. I've never even heard of a fish like that. Never. And I've seen some like incredible fish in my life. Like I've seen some really great ones. I used to fish this place in Alabama that guys have caught 13s, 14s, 15s like all the time. And now it's like a really bred lake and they really manicure that for that. And they've got the money to chase these bass down. But dude, I have hunted this fish since that day and I've seen her I could tell you to come down right now and I could take you to this fish and show you this fish. And it was just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, it's the
Damn.
wildest thing I've ever witnessed in my life. And these lakes, they've got fish like that.
Uh-huh.
And so it's just like, it's just the nuttiest thing in the world. And so, like, dude, there's not a day that goes by that I don't think about that fish because I don't have a picture of this fish. I've got buddies that saw it on
Yeah.
FaceTime. I've got
Yeah.
friends that I showed the scale and they're going, no, he's serious. But it's like, if I caught that fish pre-spawn, I mean, I don't know how big it's going to be.
Right.
It's like, so it's just crazy, man.
Dude, that's insane. Have you tried to cast at her again? Like, has she shown any interest in baits, or you kind of left it alone until the pre-spawn?
When we get off, I'm going to send you a text of a swim bait my father-in-law and I made.
Okay.
It's the ugliest thing you've ever seen. The month of December, after our firstborn was born,
Mhm.
I took this bait out there and it's got no hooks on it because it just sinks. It
Yeah.
doesn't really swim right. It doesn't do anything. It's not a great bait, like, obviously, but I'd take it out with no hooks because I wanted to catch her in like March or April
Hmm.
because I don't know why. I guess I just thought, like, I want to catch this fish at its peak. And if
Yeah.
she's here, and so I don't even know if she's here. I told you the thing about the otters, that we
Yeah.
had move in, which will eat everything out of a lake. And that lake shut off because I think these otters were just coming in, taking so many I mean, we used to go out there and catch like 100 fish a day if I took somebody that was fishing a Cinco or something. So, like, but we would go back and I'd throw this bait with no hooks and she'd never pay attention to it. And I'm thinking maybe it's the bait. And then I went back and I'd take my DRT and I'd literally just take the hooks and I would cut the barbs completely off the
Yeah.
hooks, like all the way down to where it's just a shank basically on the hook. And she came back up, like, just going ape shit over it. But she never would commit to it. She
Yeah.
would, like, follow it and act like she's going to T-bone. And then, the bait would come up and she
Mhm.
just back off. And then she'd swim back. And it's like, I don't know if, it's often a question I've thought about, like, what would Mike Gilbert think? Like, would
Yeah.
that fish historically want to hang in that area and that's her spot and that's where she's going to stay because there's no pressure there
Mhm.
other than me? I'm the only guy that goes to that body of water.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, the month of December, we caught a bunch of great fish, a bunch of 8s, 9s, caught a 10. I mean, there's a bunch of great fish out there, but it's just like, I don't know what to do. I'm at this loss with her. Um, I've seen her 3 times. She came up on an executor in the beginning of February, and then, just since then, she hadn't been back.
Dude, that's
Crazy. That was a long-winded story. I'm sorry,
no,
but
no, dude,
anyways.
that's the good story, but man, that's insane. Have you tried any soft baits at her?
No, not yet. I I picked up some Tyrant 8s, of course, that I've way overpaid for because I missed a drop, and you know, and I hate to admit that, but I did, and I didn't really have the colors that I really liked, so, and I knew some guys that wanted some, so I just moved them onto them. But I want to, but I'll tell you this, I think I texted you this, like, or I told you this on Instagram. I'm like, man, if you want to come down, come down. Like, I don't care. Like, I know this fish, like, with every ounce of my being. I just know that if this fish ate good through all that summer, all
Yeah.
that winter, moving into this new year, like, I know somebody could come out here and catch that fish and potentially have the best shot at like breaking a state record, which that's not what it's about. But it's just like, I've had those days where I chased her enough by myself and I just went like, what if this isn't for me?
Yeah.
What if I've already had my chance?
Hmm.
And what if it's for somebody else? Like, what if I could bring somebody who's never thrown a glide bait or never thrown a working class citizen? Like, what if I could bring them out and they catch this fish? Like, that'd be awesome. Maybe that's my way to hook somebody else because
Yeah.
that fish is what hooked me to swim baits.
Hmm.
Like, that fish was the one that said all the conventional stuff has to go.
Yeah.
I mean, so I don't know. It's kind of this weird. I feel like I've got this relationship with this fish that we call
Yeah.
Nadine now, or that I'm just like, I'm just I don't know. It's a weird thing. And so I'm kind of just like want to share these, like can somebody else catch this fish? Because I'm not something's not
Yeah.
happening. And
Right.
obviously, like I said, I've gone out throwing no hooks just to like, can I go out there and can I go out there and hit this fish like at its peak? And
Mhm.
so I don't know. We'll see. If I get through this spring and I don't catch it, I'm just kind of like, all right, farewell,
Dude,
good knowing you.
that's insane. That's so crazy that fish is so like landlocked into a spot. And dude, I don't know. Was that the TK that it ate? Was that your first TK you had bought?
Yeah, it was my queen TK. And dude, I even did this. I sold that TK and bought another queen TK thinking like I was so superstitious about it.
Yeah.
Like, what if it's just this? What if she knows like because like I don't know. I've always been told by guys that I really respect, fishermen, that a fish, like once you hook a fish and that passes on through their DNA, like
Yeah.
that they
Yep.
know that thing, And so I don't know. I had all sorts of superstitions about it. I mean, the next thing I'd really like love to try is just go out there and throw like a ghost and
Hmm.
see, but I mean, I don't know. I'm just kind of like at a total loss, with this fish because I've seen her and I've seen some fish that I think are bigger than she is shoulder
Yeah.
wise, that hang out in this one little area. It's the wildest thing in the world. Next time I'm out, I'm going to take a video and I'll show
Yeah.
you like it's literally that kind of thing. Like where I can go and if they're there, they're there.
Dude.
Like, and there's three of them that
Yeah.
go to this one area. It's super wild, and I mean, yes, it's a pond, right? Like it's a 100 and some acre pond. I mean, it's very large, but I just never witnessed anything like that in my life of fishing. So I'm just totally lost on that.
Dude, your best bet, like a good bet even might be during like your gill spawn. Like by the sounds of it, it sounds like some gills like would push up in that area. Dude, if you fish like a Hud gill through there, or a wake walker, or dude, just like a bull shooter from depths, or like some kind of gill bait. And if you could like fish it around those beds, like around that spot that she lays, and it sounds like a lot of these other big fish lay, like, dude, that might be another point in time. It won't be as big as the pre-spawn, but it'll still have a solid extra weight from eating all those bluegill and stuff that are bedding. Like that might be like a pretty plausible plan to try to get her to bite again too, because like it just is it's such a peak time. It like obviously the spawn is like the rut, but more so like the gill spawn I feel like is kind of like the fall harvest. Like those fish are running through corn, or like those deer like running through the cornfields and stuff, chasing the combines and whatnot, eating all the cobs that are on the ground. Like that's almost the same exact thing for a bass. Like those bluegill are just stacked up in a 20 by 20 spot, and you have 100 big bluegill that are spawning. Those bass can just swim through and pluck those fish off a bed once a day if they want to. Like I feel like that is a really, really, really good chance to catch big fish that maybe guys don't necessarily think about. They think about once the pre-spawn, and kind of if they're not into spawn fishing, then that's just kind of it for the rest of the year. But dude, after pre-spawn or after spawn, those fish want to eat a bunch of stuff to get ready for the rest of the year. They exert so much energy and so much, calories into protecting the nest, obviously laying the eggs and everything. Like they've got to recoup that some way. And if you can catch it towards maybe the end of that cycle, and they have on like a major feed bag, like that could be a chance to catch a big fish, not necessarily at its peak bigness for the year, but definitely pretty high up there too.
Oh yeah. Well, and that's the thing, man. I mean, we've been very fortunate that we've got, some areas with some, I mean, giant fish. And I think, and again, like I'll say this, and it's one of those things that, I don't feel like I have to prove it to anyone,
Yeah.
obviously, but I know there's a few that I know are like, okay, I know now of two, probably three fish that are larger, from the scope of girth than
Yeah.
that fish is. Um, but my thing now is it's been more like understanding like why does this fish relate to this area?
Hmm.
What is in here? Like, why is it a good ambush point for this
Yeah.
fish? Why does the bait move the way they move in here? Why does, so it's like I'm just trying to become I'm trying to get to a point where, like, I've got this little PDF file in my in my computer where I log fish, that we catch, like any fish over 8 pounds, we log.
Yeah.
And I take really in-depth pictures on them, like markings,
Yep.
barometric pressure, moon phase, front, like where the weather's at. Was there a front 3 days before? Was there a
Hmm.
front 3 days after? I mean, obviously we don't have tidal movement in there, so your major minor doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily key in on that, but I do put the major minor. So, like, I go back and I track these fish, like, historically, like what makes this day better than another day, or so on and so forth. And so, I just sort of try to start building a window of, like, where are my strong points, and where can I relate that to catching a bigger fish, and
Yep.
trying to get better at different things, like being a better fisherman at noon to 2 o'clock,
Hmm.
like that's a tough one for me, but that's, I've always heard, one of the best windows for catching bigger fish.
Yeah. Well, that's like Marsh. He does. I mean, I have spent enough time with Marshall and I've known Marshall long enough. That dude does not get out of
Yeah.
bed until it's, 10, 11 o'clock, and then he'll start his day. Like, he'll start his day, but he doesn't start pumping up the board or start getting gear around until 10, 11 o'clock. And even then, like, Marshall says the best fishing is in the middle of the day, middle to right before, the afternoon sets in. Like, Marshall has caught very many big fish throughout that time period, like double-digit fish in that time period. So, there's obviously something to be said about it. But have you read In Pursuit of Giant Bass by Bill Murphy?
I'm on, God, what is the book that I'm on? I don't have my little, like, I've got like an e-reader thing. Is it Sow Belly that I'm
Belly,
reading right
yeah, the one where
now?
they're talking about the world
Yeah.
record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't think I've read what the one you're talking about.
So this one, so funny enough, sidetrack here. I talked about this for a while, like around episode like 100. Like, I talked about it for like a dozen or so episodes, like in a row, because I was in the process of reading the book. And one of the guys I like kind of do projects with, he hit me up and was like, "Hey, have you been talking about this book?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "This guy at this tackle store, like the only place that sells this book right now." He's like, "Dude, he's saying they're selling more copies of this book in the last like 3 weeks than they can even keep in stock." And I was like, "That's hilarious." And all these guys are posting about getting this book and stuff. But anyway, the book. Bill Murphy is the guy who wrote the book, older guy in the 90s, and he just a story behind the book. Like, he had I don't quote me, but he was ill. He was, getting ready to pass away, and he wanted to make sure his wife and I think his kid were like pretty well off. So he pretty much wrote this book indulging like all the big California trophy bass secrets, like how to catch them on crayfish, how he was fishing out deep, like with no electronics, and how he was able to find structure and kind of figured out how these fish related and stuff. But I digress. He talks about how big fish, they set up in places where they can access deep water quickly. So I don't know if you've ever graphed or if you can see the bottom of the lake, but there's a good chance that that fish, you talked about how that fish will
That's
shoot off
exactly
when you
what's
turn.
right there.
Yeah, yeah, you talk about that fish shooting off when you turn the motor on and stuff. There's a chance that fish is sitting on that small transition period, and like one or two pumps of the tail, that fish can be in 12 feet of water, and it doesn't have to worry about an otter diving down and eating it, or an eagle coming picking it up, or somebody flipping a jig at it, or whatever else it may be. Like, those fish know that if I can get in deep water, like the probability of me getting, eaten, or whatever else it may be, is extremely down. So those fish take advantage of those, like highway passages, like we have to go from BFE Michigan all the way down to you in Carolina. Like, that fish has that highway where it can just dip and it doesn't have to worry about anything chasing it.
That's exactly what's right there. I call it the pool. It's like, you got a big flat on one end,
Yeah.
kind of goes back into a little short pool that she hangs out underneath these kind of magnolias. A lot of thick cover. Our lake is a lot of really, really heavy grass on bottom, and then a lot of floating grass too. And then, but right there is the main pool of that lake.
Yeah.
And it's not huge, but that's where those fish tend to hang,
Hmm.
is right in that pool. And they'll kind of move up and do their thing and they'll
Yep.
come back out. That's where they go. So anyways, but that's Nadine.
Dude, that's crazy. Another thing that I know you said you big jig guy or used to be back in the day. Dude, maybe one of those dwellers, if you've seen those big crayfish, dude,
Cape Town.
that might be like a ticket to just hop past her. And I mean, dude, it's a crayfish. Like it's a crayfish is a crayfish. It's not like it's a glide bait that's painted to look like a shad and maybe it doesn't match the shad perfectly. I mean, dude, it's a freaking crayfish. Like that might be something that fish sees and it's like, holy shit, I have to eat this, magnum of a crawdad because this thing's right in front of me. Like
Yeah.
that guy, just like thinking outside the box and like trying to think of a natural presentation that you can make with a swim bait, but also make it. I don't know how far down that tree hangs or anything, but almost sounds like you have to make like not necessarily the perfect cast, but a pretty decent cast to get it in there. And it's kind of shallow, so you don't want a bait that sinks super fast, or you're going to be dragging muck through it, or like
Right.
it kind of like everything has to line up. And you know, you're these lakes not having like crazy forage, like all these bait fish and stuff that maybe big bodies of water have like your spotlight keeps getting narrow and narrow on your box, like on your collection of baits, and it's like shit, dude. Like I've got four baits that I can present this fish. Going back to even on a smaller scale, going back to what we were talking about earlier, fishing 10 baits in a day. Oh my gosh, I only have four baits that I can show this fish. How the hell am I going to decide which bait to throw at it for the next four
Yeah.
hours? Like, dude, it's just a never-ending circle.
Yeah, I've seen those cave towns. Those are cool baits. I'm always on the web, dude. I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm watching everything, every move everybody makes on those forums, on Underground and Universe, and that's the interesting thing to me too. Is like, you know, there's a lot of keyboard warriors on there.
Yeah.
Did you notice that?
Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of that, which is interesting to see because you don't see that a lot. Like somebody, you don't see somebody with like a 5 pounder with a finesse jig in their mouth and on some bass fishing forum being like, "Oh,
Right.
look at this idiot throwing a finesse jig! Wow, what
Yeah.
an asshole!" I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of warriors just like that, and everybody can paint a bait these days, you know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so it's been interesting to learn, and see it. And there's some great people on there too, but it's interesting.
Yeah, dude, it's changed a lot. Like it used to be even worse back in the day, like before Universe and kind of the early days of Underground, there was another Facebook forum and that was like dude, that was seriously the Wild West. Like there was some crazy stuff that would get spouted on those pages and they got taken down and deleted and stuff. Excuse me, deleted and stuff. So everybody kind of migrated to Universe and Underground more so. And so it's just crazy I mean, even before COVID, it was a pretty small scene. Like there was maybe like I don't even don't quote me, but like 17,000 people on Universe. Like it was relatively small. Like I would know a majority of
Right.
posts I see, I would know the names and stuff. And now there's just so many. I mean, I'm a moderator in Universe, and so I see a bunch of posts. But dude, there's posts like that I have never even seen this guy before, and he's been in the group for 2 or 3 years and has made a post every week. And it's like what? It's just insane how much it's grown. Like it's hard to comprehend like what 40,000 people in a group is like.
Oh, dude, I know. I mean, I've learned a lot. I ask sometimes I'll ask a stupid question. Like I was going through line hell a while back. Like there was a line that I'd thrown for years. I really loved it, but I was just having a lot of problems with it, like breaking way up the line. And so I'd never been a co-poly guy. Obviously was not going to go to braids. So I was like, what, and oh my God. I mean, you would have thought, it's like a P-line CXX or nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I got it. I'll buy a spool. I'll give it a shot. Um, but it's interesting, and like I think the problem with it is now is the fact that you're exposed to so many baits. It's just like guitar gear. It's like once you learn what works for you, you don't really need to go buy this other
Yeah.
delay pedal or overdrive pedal. It's like you kind of got your thing, but we're all obsessed with that, and like, oh man, I kind of want this or I want that. And it's like that was the thing I got hooked on early was just buying everything that I could get a deal on and see if it worked for me. And then it quickly was like, like I said, dude, like I'm two rods.
Yeah.
I'm a small bag with a couple things, and that's just how I roll. I try to, at least. I mean, I've been going through rods and reels, and I've just been trying to figure out what it is that works for me the best. I think I finally landed on something that really works for me, but I tried and tried and I respect guys like Jeff and you and everybody that it's like, you've got your thing dialed in. Like I know
Yeah.
you talk about is it the Curado, the 200 a
Yeah, the
lot?
Corrado. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I bought one like, cause I'd seen that video that you made. Like it
Yeah.
was like this one, not this one or
Yeah.
whatever. And, and it's like, so anyways, I've just kind of started dialing in like, okay, this works for me. And if I'm going to chase something, I want to chase like, I want to try to
hmm
get my hands on one of these or whatever that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the problem is, and the reason it seems to be like such a barbaric thing to post in like a lot of these groups and forums, is because you're asking for somebody's experience, but you're asking it times 40,000. So everybody has a hill to die on. Everybody
Yeah.
reads the comments and says, "Oh, this Adrian guy, he says he fishes 15 pound and he lives in Michigan. He's fucking crazy. He's stupid. He should be at least fishing 20 pound with a 60-pound steel eater. He doesn't
Yeah.
don't listen to him. He doesn't know what he's talking about, or whatever else. This line's terrible. This guy doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. I got a bad spool and never again." So it's like everything just gets magnitude and everybody has an opinion, and obviously everybody shares or can obviously wants to share their opinion, so it just gets to be a slugfest. And people are just not content with dropping their 2 cents, like somebody asking for your 2 cents, you giving it, and then just leaving. Like somebody's always got to stir the pot, it seems like. And that's just how it is. Like you get a group of 40,000 people, and there's going to be so many people from every walk of life who want to piss and moan about somebody using this thing because they've had a bad experience with it, or somebody just wants to share their experiences, or whatever else it may be. There's just so much that goes into it. It's just like whenever I make a post, I don't even make a post asking questions. I've got a couple people I'll ask, and that's about it. If I get their answers, then I can form my own answer from that sort of thing.
Yeah. That's where I'm at now. I don't, used to, it was just like for fun,
Yeah,
like, hey,
yeah,
like Antares DC Monster Driver to Tula. And
mhm.
somebody's like, what kind of fucking questions?
Yeah,
That's the
yeah,
dumbest fucking question I've ever heard. And it's like, no, it's really not that dumb of a question. I'm just picking, I'm
yeah,
bored. It's midnight. I'm out of freaking crackers. I
yeah,
just want, like, hey, whatever. So I just don't even like anymore. I don't mess with it. But yeah, man, it's tough because I think the other part of it is too is like understand like what you're buying and what
yeah,
are you buying into, right? Like, I heard that quote from Gilbert. Well, I think it was a while back, right? Like where he was like, if you want to support a company, buy a t-shirt. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
And that's kind of where I'm at is like, I'm kind of in a place where I'll just say that like I don't know Jeffrey. I've never spoken to Jeffrey. I think, he's awesome. I love it. I mean, I totally I watch all those videos. I mean, but God, if I had his swim bait collection, I would have the worst anxiety
yeah,
ever because I'm so OCD and like
yeah.
everything's got to be clean and neat and put up and this and that. And like I wouldn't know what to do. I would just
Mhm.
be like, oh my God, you know what I mean? But like it's a guy who kind of knows how to handle that.
Yeah.
I'm just not really built for that, but
Mhm.
it's a world of like, you know, Berkeley can, you know what I mean? Anyways, yeah. I mean, it's like, just know what you're buying,
Yeah.
like don't go buy a $15 bait expecting $100 swim.
Mhm.
Like that's probably not going to happen. You know what I mean? Most
Yeah.
of the time. I mean, I'm a big believer in the mag draft. I mean, I love the mag draft, but like it's to me, it's still not like a working class zero
Mhm.
bait.
Yeah, and
So
that's like guys, sorry, I'm trying to pick out this metal splinter while I formulate my thought here if you guys are watching. But guys will like
yeah,
guys will talk about how I bought this bait and the ice fell out or whatever else it may be, and it's like, okay, I understand where you're coming from, but literally everything is handmade. You could go buy a Nessie for 12, 15 bucks, whatever it is, and that thing could just not swim right out of the package. and it could
Yeah.
have the best paint job ever. The paint could be flaking off. I don't know. Like I understand where guys are coming from when they piss and moan about stuff, but it's also like I don't know. Sometimes it just doesn't matter, dude. Like your bait's gonna get hook rash. I'm sorry that your paint's starting to flake off. You've been fishing it for 2 years. That's gonna happen. Or their tail falls out. Like that's a big one. Oh my gosh, my tail fell out, and this company doesn't have replacement tails on their site. Whatever am I gonna do? And it's just like, dude, like I don't know. People
Yeah.
expect like yeah, I understand you spend like $150 on a bait, but dude, it does not come with a lifetime warranty. It doesn't come with a 100,000 mile drivetrain warranty like a car does. Like you're going like
Yeah, but dude,
it's
I mean,
yeah,
you know firsthand, just like me, it's like I think about it like if you get on a hot bite with like let's say like a Zoom lizard, right? Like $7 a package or
yeah,
something. Let's just call it seven, right? After
yep,
taxes, wherever you are. That bag might last you one day if you're on a really
yep,
good bite, like
yep,
when a lizard's hot.
hmm
But it's like I have people that say like why am I spending $150 on this? This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of. I'm like, well, first off, if you tie a good knot, uh, if you tie a good knot, you're not using like braid to leader where you've got 15 knots in the line
hmm
before you get to the bait itself. But
yeah,
if you tie a good knot and you take the time to take care of the bait and do that, it's like show me what you spent on soft plastics in the last 3 years, and I'll show you what I've spent on swim baits. And they won't even come in the vicinity of each
yeah,
other. They just won't
you're right.
because like I'm the world's worst of like if I buy one, I want two, but
hmm
I know I'm not going to go buy an immortal trout and buy like three of them.
Yeah, yeah,
Like I know that's probably not going to happen. So I know I should probably just buy one,
hmm
and just that's my deal. But I don't know. I've always had this idea that like I was telling somebody this the other day, and they're like, "You're going to get so bored." But I did have this thought like one year I want to fish one rod, one reel, and like I think it was I put it like the Tiny Clash, the Citizen Six,
hmm
maybe a seven, like whatever I could get on that kind of medium
yeah,
heavy to heavy rod, right? And the next year go to like a K9 and then go to a Tyrant 8, go to like a like whatever, all
yep,
that category. And the next year go to like a Ghost and like spend time really focusing on that, right?
hmm
Because I am under the I'm in under the impression that if you give a fish a bait so many times, at a certain point they're going to be like, dude, again,
yep,
like you're gonna run this citizen at me for the 30th time this month, but I don't know. I've just kind of I think that people spend more time kind of chasing, I got to have that because people say that's hard to get
hmm
more than how can I be the best at what I've got?
yeah.
What do I have my hands on? What can I fish?
Yeah, and it's just I don't know. I was talking to somebody about that the other day. Like there's so many companies out there and it's like really hard to pick like say you're a guy and you can only, buy a bait every month and a half, every 2 months, set aside a little bit every paycheck and you can buy a $150 glide bait a couple times a year. And it's like, man, there's so much stuff out there now. How do I decide what bait to buy, who to support? Whatever else it may be. And that's kind of what I was like referring to earlier when I was meaning what bait am I going to tie onto my box because I've got a gajillion baits and some of them were gifts or some of them I bought or some of them they set aside so I could buy on a later date. Like all of these baits mean something to me. How the hell am I going to decide, who to quote unquote who to support today? Like how the hell am I going to do that? And that's like the big problem for me is like how do I decide what bait I want to fish? Like I might have 40 different glide baits and it's like, well, if I catch a picture, if I catch a fish on this bait today, like this dude would be psyched to post a picture. But this guy, he's doing a drop in a couple of weeks, so it might be cool if I caught it on this bait. So it's just like that's what goes through my head, and it's like I try to do on the page, like I try to promote everybody, but in the sense that's why I don't really post like a lot of cast catches or stuff, be casted catches or stuff, because it's like so individualized on that level that dude, I can't post a cast catch of every single bait I have from every single bait maker. Like that would be I'd be fishing, for a full-time job. Like that's just I don't know, it's super hard And then guys think you're biased because you're fishing this bait over their buddy's bait. And it's just like, dude, no, I don't know what to tell people. I'm sorry, I can't fish all these baits at once. I guess that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I can't do a cast to catch because I'm like technologically, mute.
Right. Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know how to. I don't know how to edit. I've got a content creator that works on content stuff like
Uh-huh.
with me, but I don't know, man. Yeah, I agree with you though. I think you're like spot on, and that's one thing about your content that I caught on to really early was like, man, this is like the working man's.
Yeah.
Like this feels good. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
this feels like something that's not completely out of touch.
Hmm.
Like you know what I mean? Like some of these overhyped gear channels, it's
Yeah.
like look at the drop from this and that and
And
blah blah
it's
blah blah blah.
all
Like
JDM
that's what I
and
always love
yeah.
about. Yeah, dude, like Ben and those guys from the hookup, like they hit you with an $800 rod, but at least they give you this kind of like. But if you can't do that,
Yeah.
you can grab this guy, and this is
Hmm.
a pretty good, like second to that. And
Yeah.
so I don't know. I'm not. I don't. It's not like I'm not just crawling in DRT Artex rods. I'd love to
Right.
have them, but
Yeah.
I can't. I can't. I'm not that good.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah, and that's
you
like
know,
that's what I try for it to be is like I mean, I post it on my story. I try to post it like at least once or twice a month. Like, hey, I don't care if I've talked to you 100,000 times, if I own one of your baits or you're a brand new builder. Like, if you're dropping baits and it's not a knockoff, like, let me know. I'll post it on my story. Like, I'll comment, like, I'll follow you, whatever. Like, I'm trying to make it so everybody has a fair shake at this like through the platform. Like I don't want it to be like, oh, this is only for elude and throwback to because that's those are the two baits I really like. Like I'm not sharing anybody else's stuff. Like I'm trying to make it so like these smaller guys like they can hit me up and I can post their stuff and oh my gosh, I got two orders that from people that I've never talked to before, and I think it's because of your story. Thank you so much. Like I'm trying to give a fair shake to everybody who might not have the platform or the reach. I mean, I have like 5,000 followers, so who's to say that I have any of that too? But I'm just there to help people if they need the help or if they want the help. If I can help them sell one or two baits, dude, that makes somebody more happy than we could probably ever imagine.
yeah. Well, and I no, I agree with you. I mean, what is do you have like a what is like your I mean, like I'm a very non-conventional swim bait guy, right?
Yeah.
Like like what would you describe as like your like in your setup per se, right? Like what is your like maybe people wouldn't totally be able to do like what is your thing? You know what I mean? Like what is your just like this is my bread and butter, this is my deal, and I'm gonna stick with it no matter what,
Oh,
someone says.
yeah. Dude, I don't know. Like I just feel like whenever I try to do stuff that I think is sick, like the magazine, I think is pretty cool. That's why I do it. Dude, I don't know if you've heard, but I do not make any money on the magazine. So I just do it because it's sweet, because written media is super
It's
dope.
thick.
There's nothing else like it out there. It's something that stands like it's something that somebody would see and be like, "Oh, this is sweet. I'm gonna follow this guy." It's something to set me apart from other people or other guys who are in the scene. I started doing it the tail end of last year, and I'm obviously get to do it more when it warms up a little bit. But all the underwater videos and photos I do, like that's something I want to offer to guys because it's super sick. It gives, like I can hold this bait. Oh shit. I can hold this bait in front of the camera all day, but that's not the way the fish sees it. So if I can give a perspective on how a fish sees it, how this paint looks underwater or whatever else, like there's a couple things that I
Yeah.
try to do to kind of make people value like following scales and tails, I guess that's what you want to say. Like just something that
Yeah.
you're not going to see from anybody else and kind of the reason why you should, just follow along with what we do here, I guess.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I don't know, just to be a little bit different in any way I can. And that's like I mentioned it earlier. I don't try to post cast catches and stuff because it's not like it's my personal fishing page. Like it is it's like a media outlet. It's like just showing the cool shit that's going on in the community, cool events, cool baits that are dropping, cool paint jobs, rods, whatever else it may be. Like that's what I want people to follow the page for, not because they can watch me catch a 3 pound northern strain bass on a wake walker if they want to.
Well, that's what's crazy too, because like I listened to it. I used to be the guy that would like skip around in podcasts, the
Yeah.
things that I thought I would want to listen to.
Hmm.
And man, I put yours on. I started listening. What's the guy?
Oh, put me
I
on the
wound up
spot
following him because
here.
I was like, oh, this sounds dope. What was his dang name? He's the guy that shoots like VHS.
Oh, Garrett Gilbert from Arizona. The Reel of
Yeah.
Fortune.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know that I would ever, like I don't know what I would, I do love like film. I mean,
Yeah.
I carry a Fuji film with me everywhere.
Mhm.
That I'm like obsessed with those like black and whites and stuff.
Yeah.
But like just stuff like that, you know what I mean? It's like I dig, your thing in the sense that it's just kind of like it's almost kind of like the Rogan of fishing, like you kind of got
Yeah.
everything out there.
Yeah.
It's not like we're not shut off by this guy that's making a handmade bait in his basement to the guy that shoots VHS to the guy that Marshall, like
Yeah.
whatever
Yeah.
it is. It's like it's a really cool, really dope platform. So, anyways, but yeah, man.
I appreciate that, dude. That was like that was the goal, is like media for everybody. Media for a country singer to listen to, or media for the homeless guy in his van down by the river to watch or listen to. Like there's
Yeah, the
really no
Chris
target
Farley of
audience. Like
fishing.
if you're into spending obsessive amounts of money on one single bait, or you're into trying to catch a trophy bass, like that's kind of the audience I go for. It's just I don't know, it just kind of formed into its own thing. When I started, it was not swim bait based. Like the first two or three episodes were just like fishing based, and then I got back into swim baits, and I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna do this. So that's kind of how we ended up here. Fortunately, I think, luckily enough. But
Yeah,
what was I gonna
yeah.
ask you? Oh, what two rods are you currently taking out with you? What are the setups that you're taking?
Okay. I man, this has been a struggle for me. I used to make some rods back when, and I don't have any anymore. I gave them all away. But so I'm very picky. Like I said, I'm like OCD, so like colors have to match. Like it's
Yeah.
just a weird whole. Um, but right now I'm on a setup. I like the LDC, the lowdown custom workshop, the heavy. Like I like the heavy because I was coming from throwing uh, a Loomis. God, which one is it? It's the 3 to 8 ounce. Anyways, I like I was throwing a rod that was a little overpowered for TK, but still handled it really well.
Hmm.
So I've landed on that workshop rod. Like I still think you can with a heavy, you can still get away with that.
Yeah.
And then there's a guy in Texas, and I'll send you a picture of it. It's super dope. But he used to build my saltwater rods. His name's Nick Vega, and if you ever want to check something cool out, like I would highly recommend check out his post. He's a really great dude, and I was looking for like a 6 to 16 ounce rod. I found a blank that I really wanted to try. Um, and so he's built me one now that's wrapped in a rattlesnake that I killed.
That's sick.
Like the rod is
Yeah.
it's crazy, but it's and I'll just say this, like no shade at any rod builders, but uh like what a two-piece rod is a two-piece rod is a two-piece rod, and a one-piece rod is a one-piece rod.
Yeah.
So like that stuff threw me off forever. I'm like, but this isn't one piece, this is ferruled, it's still
Yeah.
two pieces. I still got to put. So like
Mhm.
once I got over that, and I got over all the just kind of like I've tried everything. I've tried the Loomises, I've tried Leviathans, I've tried, the my favorites beyond the LDC was the do you say it Tulala to whatever it is?
Oh,
It's they're like the remake rods.
yeah. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
yeah. Anyways, I've tried those and those are great, but I landed on that LDC and I feel like it works great for me. Reels, I'm sort of I'm not really traditional. Like I don't throw a fast ratio. I don't
Mhm.
throw a fast gear. That's just not my thing. I'm
Mhm.
not. I've got giant hands, and I throw a 120 varial on everything, or a 120, size handle on everything that I have. And so, I mean, my favorite reel forever was a Cardiff that I modified. Like I
Yeah.
just did a bunch of modding on it. messing with it and trying stuff. And like, I just got one that's really great, and I threw that forever. But now I'm kind of back on the Daiwa stuff. Just sort of, I'm just trying it. But the Tatula, the 200 Tatula, to me, with a 120 and with the right line, that is a great freaking reel.
Hmm.
Daiwas to me have always been extremely picky to line, though. That's the only thing I've ever noticed. But yeah,
Yeah, dude, I mean, I've got like a lot of Shimano's, I've got some big Abus, I've got some smaller Tatula or Daiwa Tatulas. Like, I like them all. There's not really any reels I don't like. Like, just kind of how it is. Whatever I have is what I fish. I bought two reels brand new. One of them I don't even have. The one is the big Abu reel I have, and the other one is Alexa, a Daiwa Alexa Win that I sold a long time ago. But like everything else, I've bought off of like Facebook, Bass Marketplace, Swap Meets, or whatever the heck the pages are called.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah,
I buy
yeah.
everything secondhand, and I've never really come across a reel I don't like the Corrados or Bulletproof. I love mine. I have two of them. Maybe I've got three. I mean, I've never.
Mhm.
I think majority of swimbait guys overcomplicate the reel thing. Like, you don't need a Tranks
Yeah.
400 or a Conquest 400. Like, really, a 300 is like the biggest reel you need, and I would say like probably three-quarters of guys don't even need that. Three quarters of guys can get away with a 200 size Tatula or a Corrado or a Tranks or whatever else may be. Like, 200 size reel is plenty. Marshall and I have spent hours talking about how you don't need a gigantic reel. Like, Marshall fishes swim baits on like 100 size reel, like on a or like on the Conquest. I think it's like the 70 or something. Like, you don't the reel isn't really doing the work. If you're fishing a huge bait
Oh
that's got
God.
like a big crawler
Yeah.
wings that are pulling a bunch of water and like there's a bunch of tension, the reel is going to work a lot more. But you're fishing a smooth fluid glide or a paddle tail or a wake bait, like there's really no resistance to working on the reel. It's more so how much line do you need, and even the 300 size reel is plenty for dude, like every single bait. There's no bait that you're gonna be able to cast that's gonna spool a 300 size reel at all.
No, and that's the thing. Like, I love the Conquest. I've had a few Conquests at this point. I've had the DC, like the monster drives. Like, I've stumbled and bought a few of those, and then I was just kind of like, I'm I don't know. The thing that I do like about the die is that I threw them on salt water for a while. They were good reels. The T-wing system I know throws a lot of people off, but I don't know. I like it, but I still have my Shimano's too that I love. So those are just kind of the two brands that I'm like,
Yeah.
I've got both of those, and that works. And but like, dude, if I walk across something and I go, I haven't used that in like a week, it's gone. Like,
Yep.
I don't keep stuff. I don't collect stuff. Like, I've got two Dobbins 795s that I keep around just if I've got a friend coming to town.
Right.
Like, that's a great
Hmm.
rod. Like, I know it says 1 to 5, but like, I've thrown those 11-inch Buka bull shads
Yeah.
on them, and like, it's not super comfortable. Don't get me wrong, but like, it'll do it, and
Yeah.
it's like, so I keep those around for some buddies to be able to throw. But yeah, I mean, man, I'm pretty simple when it comes to that. I mean, my baits, I've rebuilt my baits to sort of like what I like, what I think is going to work for my style of fishing. Wakes are a new thing to me.
Hmm.
I haven't really fished a lot of wakes, but I found a woody the other day on a universe, and I was like, I want to try one of these woodies.
Was
This
it the
looks
pink
pretty
lemonade
cool.
Woody?
No, it's just like a totally wooden,
Oh,
like
okay. Yeah.
woody bait. And yeah, it's just like a super, like, what, I don't know. I guess it's his, is it the God, which one is it? It's like multi-segmented, but
Is it the Wake
is it the
Walker or
cheat code?
the cheat code? Yeah, the cheat code was the crank down, and then I think it was just the flea shad was the normal, or maybe no, the contra shad is the normal, or the no build one. It's been so long since he's done those baits, I can't even remember.
I don't know. I think it's in my mailbox right now. I just got a notification that something showed up, and I think that's it. But yeah, man, like, I'm pretty easy. Like, really, my confidence baits again, like TK is my
Mhm.
confidence bait, and that, between that and a probably a Citizen, is like, that's right
Yeah.
there. That's kind of like my 1-2. But I'm getting to the point I want to start throwing some bigger stuff. I was throwing the executor for a while, that UFO executor, which is an awesome bait, like incredible bait.
Mhm.
But now it's got me thinking like, well, what about the ghost? Or
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, it's a slippery slope. Last question I had for you because we talked about it quite a bit now, and we kind of talked around it. What is your kayak setup? What are you going out to fish for like these lakes and stuff? What are you taking out there?
Well, so I've got a my truck is like, I'm not a big truck guy, so I've got an '06 Gen 2 Tacoma,
Oh, my
and
man, second
yeah,
gen,
baby,
heck
come on,
yeah,
got the racks and all the goods, but um, I wanted a shorter kayak,
Mhm.
just because I didn't want it hanging too far. I didn't want something to happen, and so I'm running a 10-foot native Slayer Max. Yeah, that's it. 10-foot, the prop.
Mhm.
Um, and then on board, like, zero electronics. It's just which I'm probably going to put a graph on this year, just
Yeah.
to kind of look around at bottom, even though I really know the bottom of my lakes pretty well.
Mhm.
But I'm running, um, like, on the back, like I've got, all the same stuff,
Yeah.
all on the back, all my box, the terminal, and all that stuff. But it's a really, like, my thing's a really simple setup. And
Mhm.
I mean, my approach to it is just, and I'm sure you would probably agree with me on this, but it's like, I love getting in an area, fishing a weed line or grass line or something, and going, okay, there's something happening right here. Like, this is the second fish I've caught. Like,
Mhm.
I can usually set myself up to where, if I want to get out of something, like, I can just let the wind drift me out of it
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
back off of it, let it
Yep.
chill out for a minute. Where with a boat, I couldn't do that. And I just started thinking, like, man, I wonder if these boats, like, here in this, we've got John boats that we have
Mhm.
access to out there, that we can use. But I don't know if, like, the wind and the wake on those John boats or aluminum boats are just
Yeah.
like, they hear that. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? And so, yeah, my kayak rig has been awesome. It's just super simple. I don't have it all decked out with crazy stuff. I'm not going to live scope. It's like, I'm just enjoying, the simplicity of it,
Mhm. Heck yeah, dude. Uh oh, second gen. How do you carry your rods? Do you put them in the bed or do you put them in the cab, passenger seat out the driver side window or like the driver side back seat?
All right. So this is going to sound really lame, but I baby my gear, right?
Yeah.
Because understand, I grew up on saltwater. So, like, if you didn't wash your stuff, it
Hmm.
was toast.
Yeah.
Um, so all my stuff, I put a rod glove on all my rods when I'm
Yep.
carrying them, with a 7.9, because I've got the 4-door. So,
Okay.
like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I can fit an 8-footer in my truck. Like, I can put it up, like, on the
Yep.
dash and then
Yeah.
run it to the back corner. So I'm kind of hauling them like that. But dude, have you seen those guys that do, like, the PVC rod, like, they make a PVC
Yeah.
rod tube?
I've been thinking about
I
doing that, but I've got a tent on mine, so it opens up. And so like I'm trying to figure out if I can have the tent sit on those bolt studs from the PVC hanging upside down off my rack. So, dude, I don't know. I've got the long bed, so it's only 6 foot, and it's like, dude, like 2 foot's a lot to be overhanging. Like, dude, I'm like, you have a kayak, so it kind of balances out, but it's like, dude, like I don't want somebody to not be paying attention in a parking lot and just, wreck their shit walking and hitting my
Yeah.
truck. Like,
Didn't you build like a decked system for your truck?
yeah,
Didn't you
yeah.
build
So
like
I've got
a
the
version of that?
yeah, I've got the homemade deck system inside. And so funny enough, you can fit rods all the way in the back corner coming out and then the topper sits like they fit just barely underneath the topper. And so like when we went out to Minnesota last summer, I put all my rods in the back because the girlfriend and the dog or no, just the girlfriend came. So like those rods made a 12-hour drive and none of them snapped or anything. And so I did that all last year. And it's like, dude, I'm just like asking for something to happen. So now they all sit in the cab like yours do, but mine sit on the floorboard and then just stick all the way back up. And they have a slight bend to them, but it's nothing too bad. That's just is like the safest way. It's such a pain because It's just like just small enough of a truck that it's a pain in the ass to carry around an 8 foot rod, like, and have a
Which
passenger
model
with you.
Tacoma what year is your Tacoma?
So I've got a 2012 four-door long box, so probably pretty close to the same one you
Smaller.
have.
Yeah, mine's a '06, dude. It's just about to hit 300,000 miles. Like
Dude,
all straight, all original,
yeah.
but I'm like I tell guys like I put it up on Marketplace for a while because I thought, man, maybe I'm gonna rip this truck because like I love old cars too. I'm like a big nerd on old cars, old trucks, and I've usually always had an old truck around. Just because I don't know, I like that kind of
Yeah.
thing, the old vintage clothes, all that stuff. And so I've been thinking about it, and a guy hit me up today for like asking price, and I forgot that I still had it listed, and now I'm like, oh God, I'd hate to see her go, man. Like,
Dude, the problem
such a great truck.
is like, dude, the problem is you sell it, like, I'm gonna be honest, 300,000 miles for a 2006, you could still probably get like, this is gonna sound crazy for somebody who doesn't drive a Tacoma, but dude, like 15 grand, like they'll still sell for 15 grand.
Well, and that's the problem. Like, dude, like, after COVID happened, I mean, like, I'm sure you've heard this, like, the Chevrolets and Fords. I had I can't remember which one I had, but like it was the F-150, but a Lariat XLT or whatever.
Yeah.
And it was a great truck. I wished I still had that truck, but then I bought like a new Colorado and it had half the chips that it was even supposed to come in the truck
I'm surprised it didn't
because
blow
the
up.
shortage.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like there was all these shortage and like these performance chips. Well, then you would go back and try to get another, chip for this truck, and it's like, oh, you have to pay for that. I'm like, man, I'm not going to pay for this shit.
Yeah.
It's supposed to come with the
It's
truck.
supposed to be in it. Yeah.
What? Yeah, and so I've just valued my Tacoma, and like, man, I
Mhm.
take it. I'll drive it to Nashville. I'll drive
Yeah.
it wherever, and I've wanted just to set that up for like going on hunting trips. Like
Yeah.
I really want to go. Like I really want to go out to the desert and
Mhm.
hunt. Like I'd love to go out there and hunt, or up in the mountains and do like a hunting
Yeah.
trip, like solo hunting trip or something at some point, and live off, the land. And cause I'm like big into culinary and all that, so like do all that kind of stuff. But yeah, dude, I love that. I love that rig. I love that kayak. I'm just like I'm super stoked about it. The only thing I'm like really in need of is like now I'm on like a storage hunt, like just
Mhm.
trying to maybe up my storage a little bit because right now it's not great. So we'll see.
Yeah, I ripped the back seat out of mine. I have a deck. I built a deck for the back seat of mine, so the dog can sit on the deck. He can have his bed up there, and then I can rip it all apart and keep a bunch of, like, I have all my tools underneath the deck and everything. Dude, that's the only problem with them is they're so nice, but there's just such a lack of storage. There's just not shit for storage anywhere in them.
Well, see, the thing about mine though is I've got like in my truck, there's the storage behind the seat, and then
Yep.
there's that big storage compartment under the seat. But
Yeah.
it's like they built those dumbass shelves in there.
Yep.
Does yours have that? Like where if you pull the seat down there, and
Yeah.
then there's like a middle tier shelf that goes like half the way over. It's like,
Yeah.
like, dude, what? I'll put the battery terminal cleaner in my toolbox or
Yeah.
something. Like, I don't need this shit right
Yeah.
here.
I ripped I ripped
I've even
all that
been,
stuff off.
yeah, dude. I feel you. I mean, I don't know. Those trucks are so great, and they're great to mod, and I think, and I really do. I think Toyota makes one of the best products, and the hell, they'll stand by them.
And they last
Which is
forever
great.
too. There's some
Yeah.
second gens and the second gen Facebook groups that have, right under 1 million miles, and it's like, holy piss. Like, original
Oh,
motor,
dude,
original
that's why I bought it.
trans, insane.
You want me to? I'll tell you a crazy story. You won't believe this, but a buddy of mine that sold me on the idea of this vehicle, this my buddy Colt, he owned like a business that they did like pads for houses and
Yeah.
and a lot of like dirt work and stuff. Did really well for himself, and he had bought a Gen 2 Tacoma. He got it, like in high school or something, and he ran it. And I said, "Man, how many miles does yours have?" And he said 650,000. And I said, "How many times do you service it? How many times you got the transmission fluid changed?" He goes, "Transmission fluid, I've never changed it."
Yeah.
And I said, "How often do you service like the oil?" He goes, "I don't do that." I was like,
That's
"You've had to have
insane.
had an oil change. There's no way that truck doesn't run without an oil change." It's like, man, I haven't changed the oil since like college.
Yeah.
So, I mean, who knows if that's actually true, but my God, what a spokesman
What
for
a testament.
Toyota.
Yeah.
I'm off one. he was probably like, that's like trying to sell somebody on a dirty diaper, but you know
Yeah,
what?
yeah.
It sold me, so I bought one.
Oh man, that
No
is
oil
freaking
change is
hilarious.
great. I'll buy it.
Yeah. Oh man, that's freaking hilarious, dude. But for people
Yeah,
who
dude.
don't follow you, where can they follow you at on Instagram or if you got a YouTube
Yeah.
or anything else like that?
Yeah, man. You can check my Instagram's at iamchasebryant, and I'll seldomly post some fishing stuff on there, stories mostly. But then YouTube, you can go on there, Chase Bryant, if you really want to go listen to some music or whatever. Spotify, same deal, Chase
Yeah.
Bryant, all that good stuff. I mean, I'm really hoping. I'm really trying to start getting better with posting stuff, within the fishing stuff because it's like I don't know. I love looking at it. I love seeing it. I'm trying to get a little better at that. So hopefully this year, I'll start doing that, and I'll start trying to get some more content out there on that front. So my girl who does all my content stuff, she's actually my cousin. She's coming out this way pretty soon. So hopefully I can drag her around and maybe get some stuff, but we'll see.
Heck yeah, dude. Heck yeah, man. Well, as always, I'll put all of Chase's stuff in the show notes. You guys can go follow him if you don't
Yeah.
already. While you guys are doing that, if you don't follow the podcast, Scales and Tales Media on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, everywhere that you get any of your content, as well as Patreon. We are on Patreon. We do some early access stuff on there, some limited run stuff for those guys, all that good stuff, behind the scenes stuff, early access to videos and podcasts, and whatever else we decide to post on there. But as always, I want to thank you guys for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Chase, I appreciate you coming on, dude. It was absolutely awesome talking to you. I hope I get a text message of a picture of you holding up a 16-pound bass
Yeah.
that you caught in the kayak and that you brought your scale and you got a good picture of, man. I'm super excited for the next couple months for that picture to come through.
We'll see what happens, dude. I appreciate you having me. Sorry for some long-winded answers, but this is a lot of fun. Something I don't ever get to do. I think you're the first fishing podcast I've ever done, so I'm really glad you had me on. This is awesome.
Heck yeah, dude. I appreciate you coming on, man. And as always, like I said, I'll have all of Chase's stuff so you guys can go follow him if you don't already. But as always, I want to thank you guys for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll talk to you guys on the next one. See you guys.